All right, here we are in our Cavatina course, video number 2. So we're going to talk now about some global concepts, some things that you can just keep in mind throughout your practice and with everything that you do. So, as we said before, this piece has primarily 2 parts. It really has 3 parts, but we have a melody up on the top, right? We have this accompaniment pattern down below it. And then technically we also have a bass note on the first of each measure. So that's the third that I was just mentioning. And so we can think about that as well. It's not written as a half note, so it's but it kind of is. We do have that boom, ta 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 ta, boom, ta 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 ta. Actually, I think this is a different. I was totally singing a different part than I was playing, but no matter. So we have these 3 different parts of music, and most music will generally have 3 different voices going on at all times. The large majority of classical guitar music does. So we want to keep those separate. And one of the main ways to do that is through the volume of those lines. So once we have this, that's what these notes are. We want to keep that upper line in the front. That means very audible, right? So not too quiet in relationship to, there it is, and the accompaniment. And so the accompaniment needs to be behind, that's all this stuff, it needs to be behind the melody. If it all blurs together, it doesn't sound as good. And so we just want to make sure that we know what the melody is, which notes are the melody, and it's not too hard with this piece because it is on the upper strings, it's high most of the time. But we do have these, if you look right here, we have notes that like this, which is this A right here, which is very close. It's actually, here's another A in the melody. So they cross over, right? So this crosses over, the accompaniment crosses over into the same zone as the melody. And so whenever that happens, we got to make sure that the listener knows the line is not, that's not the line. It's just, it's just the melody. So listening to those, always keeping those in mind is a big thing throughout your entire practice. Now, once in a while, whenever you're just learning the notes, you might just bang everything out. Like just pounding it out just to get the notes. But only do that very intentionally. And as soon as you're not practicing that particular practice technique of, okay, I'm just banging it out, then go back to listening for the melody, listening for the accompaniment. The next global concept is the connection of one chord to the next. So this is a bar line, which you know if you're playing this piece, because this is an advanced piece. So we don't want to hear the bar line, ever. Like in this piece, we never want to hear the bar line. There's never a time when we want to hear this bar line. We want to always, for this measure, to flow boom right into that one, which flows right into that one, which flows right into that one. We always want to be moving forward. We never want to hear that stop because that sounds heavy-footed and it stops the music from flowing forward and it makes it sound hard, right? And we don't want to distract from the melody. The melody always goes across the bar. You can just look at it and see that it's the short notes lead to the long notes. Boom. That goes to there, that goes to there. It's over the bar that this is working. So we don't want to hear the bar lines. What that means is that's one of the most difficult parts of this entire song is not hearing the bar lines. So while I can very easily say just don't listen to the bar line or don't hear the bar lines, don't let us hear the bar lines, it's going to take a lot of work in some spots to make that happen. And we'll talk more about that going on. But that's one of the main things going forward is that we don't want to hear the bar lines. And then the last one that I'll mention here is the way that we can handle this up and down arpeggio pattern, which goes on all the time. So the first thing is we don't want to accent that high note ever. So we never want it to be that's not the way it's not that. Instead, think of it as 3 notes as a decrescendo, getting quieter, and then a slight, and you can think of the words and then to here, and then to here, and then to here as a crescendo, just a slight nudge as a crescendo across these, so that we're always going as this unfolding and pointing the listener to the next chord. So, and then to here, and then to here, here, then to here, and then to here, and then to here. So that we're always doing this kind of unfolding thing, like a flower unfolding, and then there's this, and then there's this, and then look over here, and then we go over here, as opposed to boom, there's another thing, and then all of a sudden just boom, we're just going to clip to something else. Instead, we want to lead into each new chord. And so as you're practicing the chords, you can think about that. Now, as you first learn the notes, that's not what you're going to think about, because you're just trying to figure out where your fingers are going. But as soon as you can, listening for that is going to make your practice a lot more satisfying, and it's also going to make the music a lot more flowing and beautiful. So it's something to listen for and something to work on and aspire to, even though it won't always be your focus, right? We're going to have to, like any piece, especially these hard pieces, then we're going to have to learn it in layers. We're going to have to, first we're going to get the notes, and while we're getting the notes, we're going to look at what's going on, but we might not be able to do everything we want to do, right? So we want to put the melody up here in the accompaniment in the background, but we might not be able to really get a good contrast yet to do that. And same thing with this, and then to here, leading forward with the chords in this way. So really just working on how we're finessing the accompaniment. That won't happen at first, but as you're going, if you keep them in mind, you will have a greater chance of it happening at some point. If you don't, and you just think that you're going to get all the notes of the whole piece and then do something at the end to make it pretty, it's not going to happen. It never does. It's just going to sound like you're playing notes. You have to understand how the music's working and build that into the way that you hear the piece. Because if you don't hear it, then your listener is not going to hear it either. And it's really difficult once you've been practicing something a million ways or a million times one way to just change it at the end and say, oh, okay, well now I'm just going to play it different, because you won't. You'll just default to the way that you have been playing it. And if that's not beautiful, then it's not going to be beautiful. So just a word of prophecy there for as you practice this piece and as you learn the piece. So now that we've gone through these concepts, let's actually get into learning the notes and learning this piece. Enough talk, a little more action now. See you next video in practice section number 1.